The Super Archer is live in-game right now. You can go ahead and boost the new Super Troop, but in this video I want to go ahead and explain the mechanics and a couple of ways that you might want to use it. Welcome back to the channel then, guys. I'm your host, Judo Sloth. Let's explain the mechanics of the Super Archer so you know how to use it. Just to let you know, we did only get access to the developer build very briefly to pre-record this footage, so I tested a number of strategies. The Super Archer on defense, with healers, a mass Super Archer attack, sniping buildings, and I will be showcasing the results throughout this video, because I do like to bring educational but entertaining Clash of Clans videos, so if that's the type of content you want to see, I would recommend subscribing and turning on the notification bell. If you do want to support me in game, you can do so by using code JUDO within your settings before making any purchases. It is much appreciated, my friends, but let's get into it. Let's discuss the statistics real quick. The Super Archer will cost 50,000 Dark Elixir for you to boost up, and like all of the other Super Troops, the level of the Super Archer will match your level of Archer in the laboratory. The first thing to note is the housing space. 12 housing space for the Super Archer, but let's compare this to the regular Archer. So the damage per second is 132, and if we compare that to the regular Archer, it is 31. So nowhere near 12 times the value, but we're not finished yet. In terms of hit points, 500 hit points for the Super Archer, but only 56 hit points for the regular Archer. So this is where immediately when I looked at the stats, I thought to myself, could we use healers to heal the Super Archer to good effect? I will show you the results in a moment, but the main thing for the Super Archer is the special ability, the Sharp Shot. Super Archer's arrows deal damage to multiple targets in a row. So you can compare this much like the Electro Dragon's chain effect, although the damage does not decrease as the Electro Dragon does, or you might even compare it to the Bowler Bounce. I've got to say that I love the fact you can try out the Super Troops before boosting them up, just so you know you're going to get that value for a week. Now I will break down more specific examples, but real quick, the Super Archer has a tile radius of 10. The Expo has a greater range than that and takes it straight down. However, is it worth it? 12 housing space, there are some examples I'll show you, but check this one out. With 5 Super Archers, they can reach the Eagle Artillery, and as long as you place them correctly, check it out, they actually get the Archer Tower behind it as well. But that was a lot of housing space. Initially, I decided to set up a couple of test bases here on the developer build, and I placed an air defense 10 tiles away from the bottom of the elixir collector. My reasoning here was, could we snipe off some buildings at greater range than what we previously would with the Bowler Bounce? However, what you will note is the Super Archer is a ranged troop in itself, so you are losing part of that range if you are not very careful on its placement. Same base, different placement of the Archer, and you can see that we can reach the air defense. So it's pretty cool to snipe off buildings that are relatively deep into the base, but the important thing to note is that the building at the back has to be the same or less hit points than the initial building, because if the Archer takes that one out, it will cause it to retarget. So I did try in a couple of scenarios of a realistic base to get this to work, and even if you place the Archer perfectly in order to hit one of the defenses, it is difficult to find bases whereby the building in front is greater hit points than the defense behind, because even the littlest of defense, a cannon or an Archer Tower, has more hit points than most of the buildings. It's only really a storage that you can use to get through to the defenses. With this technique, the main thing is getting the angle of deployment right. If you miss it, the Archer will fire in the wrong direction and you won't hit the building behind. With all of that being said, you can snipe off any defense in the game, other than the exceptions of the Eagle Artillery, the Expo, and obviously the Town Hall, because they have greater hit points than any of the storages. Even the Scattershot you can snipe off, although it does have to be a Dark Elixir storage, not a Gold or Elixir. With all of that being said though, it is very rare that you will find a base where you can do this. However, it is very powerful if you can, so it's something that you really should have in the back of your mind just in case. Wait until you see the mass super archer attack. It actually worked really well. However, my next thought on the developer build was, could we use the super archers similar to a witch slap style strategy at Town Hall 9? The archers have good range, they have 500 hit points, so the healers would do a pretty good job. Remember, we did only get very limited access on the developer build, so I tested out a bunch of strategies, and I'm sharing with you the results. But no doubt there will be other ways to use the super archers. If you come up with anything, let me know in the comments, and if we do have any other strategies, I will be sure to include them in a future video. However, whilst this strategy did work, it had two main flaws. The first one being the enemy heroes could one-shot the super archers, rendering the healers useless. The second and the biggest problem was consistently. The super archers did keep splitting up, and when they didn't have the healers on them, they were very vulnerable. Now, in theory, I think this strategy could work really well. Notice that the super archer can outrange a lot of defenses, so it doesn't have multiple point defenses targeting it at any one time, and the healers do a really good job. The defenses could not take down the super archer. However, because of the outside trash buildings, the super archers kept splitting up. So from my testing, it wasn't consistent enough, but in theory, if there wasn't a lot of trash, I do think this is a strategy worth considering. Now I decided to test the super archers out on defense, and my first thought was, with their 10 tile range, could they reach the healers behind a queen? Because if they could, that would probably be pretty good value. Now, just to let you know, I did test out as well, placing a couple of super archers behind a Yeti Smash attack, behind a bowler attack. It didn't really add value to the attack, and for that reason, I didn't feel the footage was necessary, but just in case any of you were wondering, I did test it out. It didn't really work. So this was the first time I tried the super archers on defense, and they couldn't reach the healers, but they did appear to be firing at a diagonal, not a straight line. So similar to what I showed you earlier on in the video. Could they reach if they fired in a straight line? Now, straight away, that asks the question of consistency. If you're using them on defense, you would want them to consistently hit them healers. If they couldn't, then they wouldn't be as good as something else, but I tried to test it out, lining them up perfectly. Now, I think this was my third attempt, so again, it begs the question of consistency if you are using them on defense, but even when lined up perfectly, the super archer could not reach the healers. Only just. It appeared that they were very, very close, but they were missing the healers. So for that reason, I feel like there's just so many better options on defense than the super archers, so I wouldn't recommend them. Before we move on to the mass super archer attack, which is now my most enjoyable attack in the game, there is a couple of other key points that you should know. I did test this out with a queen walk. I thought maybe we could snipe off a defense or set the funnel, and whilst I could kind of get that to work, what I wanted to raise to you is always consider the best troop, because there was always a better option, the baby dragon being better or the hog riders. But what I wanted to show you from this footage is that whilst the heroes will one-shot the super archers, the scattershot is the other defense that can one-shot a super archer. So just know that the main weaknesses for the super archers are obviously splash damage if you can't heal through it, but anything that can one-shot them, so the scatter shots and the enemy heroes, because there's no counter for that. You can't heal through it. You would have to freeze whatever it is that can one-shot the super archers. But if an archer queen is in the middle of the base, just sniping off super archers, they are 12 housing space. That's obviously very inefficient. So with the knowledge that the scatter shots are the main difficulty for the super archers, and the fact that we brought you a video recently with 10 lightning spells and 56 super barbarians, what thought we got to work to great effect, I thought let's test it out with these super archers. I will link you to that video after this one. Now, because the super archers aren't quite as fast to funnel as the super barbarians, I thought, why don't we use the king on one side and my archer queen on the other? We need a wide funnel because remember, I knew from earlier on that the super archers have to stay together. If they split up, they are very inefficient. So with the king and a couple of wizards down to the bottom, that creates a wide funnel to the south. I used my queen and the royal champion up to the north in order to help take out some of the defenses up there as well. And then in come all of these super archers with the healers and obviously the Grand Warden. I figured the Wall Wrecker would be best to get through the base, help the super archers path through together, but you will see in numbers, they are actually pretty good at firing through the walls. So in they come. I thought the Eagle Artillery might have been a little bit of an issue, but it turned out it wasn't too bad with the healers on the archers because, again, they can be healed pretty well. And they're doing pretty good. But look at how far they can reach. They are outranging a lot of defenses, and in numbers, they are able to just power through a lot of them as well. Notice how quick they go down. They're hitting the walls behind it, and it just is so fun to watch. I might actually do a little bit more toying around with this so we can have a rage spell in there as well, just to see if they can get through buildings quicker, but that is another main advantage. Let me know if you're still around at this point, but they can outrange the Giga Bomb, which is kind of cool. But it's rare situations that you would use it, so that's where I haven't really included it earlier on. This is the issue. Time. Because I needed to push all of the super archers into the base, then I just ran out of time. But think about it. They're all 12 housing space. The reason they've managed to get this far is because they're in great numbers. So the more you decrease out of the army composition, the harder it becomes. But think about if I had a couple of balloons at this point. Literally 3 balloons. I could have sniped each one of the cannons and mortars. That would have massively helped out. There's only an air defense at the top. I think if I dropped a couple of archers out of this, took a couple of balloons, maybe some minions to clean up, we might have been able to get it to work. However, for a mass super archer attack versus a max level Town Hall 13, 91% is definitely pretty good, my friends, and I feel we might be able to use them in some style of mass attack, but that is all the information I have for you in this video. If you do want to see the super barbarian attack, I have it linked on the screen alongside the subscribe button. I will update you as we figure out more strategies for these super archers, but you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.